There are some sentences that brand themselves onto your skin like fire, and they never leave even if decades pass and you learn to smile in public and laugh at jokes in crowded rooms. Deep inside, that one sentence lives in you, like a scar that cannot be erased. For me, it was when my uncle leaned close one night after dinner, his breath heavy with whiskey, and said with a smirk, "You will die begging like your mother." I was 13 and I did not understand why he said it so casually, so cruelly in front of the whole family. My mother had passed 2 years earlier. She was gentle, soft-spoken, the kind of woman who gave away her own meals when someone else was hungry, and she had been poor, yes, but she had never begged, and yet in their eyes her poverty was shame, and by extension, so was mine. That night I lay in bed listening to the house creak around me, and I repeated the words again and again. "You will die begging like your mother." I clenched my fists under the blanket and made a silent promise I would never beg from anyone. Not for love, not for money, not for dignity. Life in that house was a constant reminder that I was less. My uncle controlled everything: the money, the decisions, the stories he told about who mattered and who did not. My cousins had new clothes, new bikes, new gadgets, while I wore the same jacket for 3 winters and rode a second-hand bicycle with squeaky brakes. Every insult, every smirk from him became fuel inside me, fuel that burned hotter the older I got. By 16, I worked nights at a mechanic shop while going to school during the day. Grease stained my hands, but every paycheck felt like armor, every coin like a stone laid in the foundation of the life I was building. I saved obsessively, hiding cash under my mattress in a tin box in my locker, anywhere I thought was safe from his prying eyes. When he mocked me at family gatherings, still fixing tires, still dirty, still worthless, I smiled silently because I knew what he didn't. I was learning more than engines. I was learning discipline, patience, the ability to keep going even when my body screamed for rest. College was out of reach financially, so I built my own path. I started repairing old computers and phones for neighbors, then for local shops. I studied online tutorials at night until my eyes blurred. I learned about circuits, about software, about the invisible threads that tied machines together. What started as repair turned into innovation. At 21, I built my first prototype, a device that could optimize power usage in small shops, cutting their electricity bills by half. At first, no one listened until one shopkeeper tried it, and then another, and soon word spread faster than I could keep up. By 23, I had a small company. By 25, I had investors. By 27, I had factories producing my designs at scale. Every insult from my uncle became fuel, every dismissal became motivation. And all the while I stayed silent to him and the family. I let them believe I was still struggling, still fixing tires, still scraping by. Because invisibility was my weapon, and patience was my shield. The breakthrough came when a foreign investor bought a majority share in my company for a figure that made headlines. Overnight, I was no longer the mechanic boy with grease on his hands. I was a millionaire with contracts across continents. But I kept my face out of the press. No photos, no interviews, just a name that was whispered in business circles. Because I wanted the reveal to come not from me, but from the silence breaking around my uncle. I bought land on the outskirts of the city and built a mansion with wide gates, marble halls, chandeliers that glittered like captured stars, and gardens that stretched further than the eye could see. I filled it with people who had been kind to me, mentors, friends, workers who had shared their meals when I had none. Every room echoed with laughter, not ridicule. Every dinner table carried warmth, not mockery. And then one evening, as the sun burned orange behind the gates, I heard shouting at the entrance. I stepped onto the balcony, and there he was. My uncle, the man who once told me I would die begging like my mother. Now his suit was wrinkled, his eyes bloodshot, his voice desperate as he argued with the guards to let him in. Life had not been kind to him. Bad investments, debts, a drinking problem that spiraled into ruin. The man who once controlled the family now stood small before my gates. He shouted my name, begging for help, demanding entry, insisting we were family. I looked down at him the way he once looked down at me, and I said nothing. The silence was enough. The guards did not open the gates, and slowly he realized the truth. He was the one outside, he was the one begging, and I was the one who decided whether or not to open the door. He came back again and again, sometimes drunk, sometimes sober, always desperate. Each time I watched from the balcony, each time I remembered my mother, gentle, kind, dying without dignity because of his cruelty. And each time I chose silence, because revenge is not always in shouting. Sometimes it is in living so fully that their insults echo back to them, louder than your voice ever could. People ask if I ever let him in, if I ever forgave him. The answer is no. Forgiveness is not owed to those who never sought to change. Forgiveness without change is just another way for them to take without giving. Instead, I built my own family, my own circle, my own legacy. I funded schools in my mother's name. I created scholarships for children who came from nothing like I did. I made sure no child would ever hear the words, "You will die," begging like your mother, and believe them. Because I learned the hard way that words can chain you, but they can also free you if you refuse to carry them. The last time I saw my uncle, he was older, frailer, his voice weaker. He was standing once again outside the gates, his hand resting on the iron bars. He did not shout this time, he just whispered my name. I stood on the balcony above him, and for a moment I saw not the man who mocked me, but the man who wasted his own life in arrogance and cruelty. I felt no hate, only distance. I turned and walked back inside. The gates remained closed. Do I regret it? No, because the greatest revenge is not in humiliating them. It is in refusing to let their words define you. It is in planting a seed where they told you only weeds would grow. It is in building a mansion of your own when they told you you would die begging. And it is in standing at the window years later, calm, strong, loved, while they stand outside small and broken. My uncle told me I would die begging like my mother. Instead, he died begging outside my gates, and I lived to honor her name, not with shame but with legacy. And that was enough.